The moment didn't begin with a countdown. It didn't come with a warning, a cue, or even a hint. It arrived like lightning, sudden, blinding, impossible to ignore, and by the time anyone realized what was happening, it was already too late to process. Because in that exact second, under the blinding lights and the roar of thousands, Jungkook moved in a way that no one expected. And everything changed. The night had already been intense. From the first beat that echoed across the stadium to the waves of screams that followed, every movement, every note, every glance, the atmosphere had built into something explosive. Fans, army, had given everything they had. Their voices were raw, their hands trembling, their energy spilling into every corner of the venue. But even in that chaos, even in that overwhelming noise, there was still a sense of control. Until that moment, Jungkook stood near the edge of the stage, his chest rising and falling, sweat catching the light as he looked out into the crowd. Thousands of faces stared back, illuminated by phone screens and glowing light sticks. The connection was already there, intense, electric, undeniable. And then, without hesitation, he ran, not away, not back toward the stage, but forward, toward them. But Jungkook didn't slow down. He didn't stop. And then, he jumped. Time fractured. For a split second, the world seemed to pause. His body lifted into the air, arms slightly spread, expression focused yet almost free, like someone stepping beyond the limits of what was expected, what was safe, what was possible. Was he really doing this? Was this real? The answer came instantly. Yes. The crowd erupted, not in a single, unified scream, but in thousands of individual reactions colliding at once. Gasps, cries, screams, laughter, disbelief, it all exploded into the air, louder than anything that had come before. Hands shot upward. Dozens. Hundreds. Reaching. Desperate. Ready. Because they understood. They had to catch him. Phones dropped. Light sticks tilted. Nothing else mattered in that moment except one thing. Being part of it, being close enough to feel it, to touch it, to know that it actually happened. Jungkook's body moved through the air for what felt like an eternity, but lasted only seconds. And then, contact. The first hands touched him. Then more. Then more. A wave of support formed beneath him as fans caught his weight, their arms shaking but holding, lifting, carrying. The energy surged again, louder, more chaotic, more emotional than ever before. He didn't fall. He didn't crash. He was held, carried by the very people who had been calling his name all night. The screams became uncontrollable. Some fans cried instantly, tears spilling without warning. Others screamed until their voices cracked, their bodies shaking under the weight of what they were experiencing. Because this wasn't just a concert moment. This was something else, something personal, something unreal. Jungkook didn't panic. He didn't pull away. Instead, he trusted. His body relaxed slightly, his expression shifting, not to fear, but to something softer, something almost amazed. As if even he was feeling the magnitude of what was happening, the reality of being supported, literally and emotionally, by thousands of people who loved him. Security moved quickly, surrounding the area, guiding, controlling, ensuring safety. But even they couldn't stop the energy, couldn't silence the sound, couldn't contain the moment. Because this wasn't something that could be controlled. It was something that had already happened, something that had already left its mark. For those few seconds, everything else disappeared. The stage, the lights, the music, all of it faded into the background as Jungkook remained suspended above the crowd, moving slowly, carried by hands that refused to let him go. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it shifted again. Security reached him, carefully, quickly, guiding him back, lifting him from the sea of hands, returning him to the stage where the performance had started, but where nothing felt the same anymore. Because once a moment like that happens, you can't go back. Jungkook stood again on solid ground, breathing heavier now, his chest rising and falling as he looked out at the crowd. The reaction didn't stop. If anything, it intensified. Fans screamed louder, cried harder, reached further. Because now it wasn't just about seeing him. They had touched him, held him, been part of something that would never be repeated in exactly the same way. Jungkook raised his hand slightly, as if acknowledging them, as if trying to calm the overwhelming reaction, but the gesture only made it worse. The crowd responded instantly, their voices rising again, unstoppable, uncontrollable. And yet, in the middle of that chaos, there was something else. Something quieter, something deeper. Gratitude, not spoken, not announced, but felt. Because what had just happened wasn't just bold. It wasn't just shocking. It was trust. Pure, undeniable trust between an artist and his fans. And that kind of trust doesn't happen overnight. It's built through years, through music, through moments, through connection. The performance continued, but everything had changed. Every movement, every note, every interaction now carried the weight of what had just happened. The energy was different, more intense, more emotional, more real. Fans didn't just watch anymore. They felt. They held onto every second as if trying to freeze time, to keep the moment alive just a little longer. Because they knew they had witnessed something rare, something that couldn't be recreated, something that would be talked about, replayed, remembered, but never truly relived. As the concert moved toward its end, the intensity softened slightly, the lights dimming, the music slowing. But even in those quieter moments, the energy didn't disappear. It lingered, in the air, in the crowd, in every heartbeat. Jungkook stood at the center of the stage once more, his expression different now, less explosive, more reflective. He looked out the crowd, really looked as if trying to take in everything that had happened, everything that had been shared. He didn't need to say anything. He didn't need to explain, because the moment spoke for itself. When the final note faded and the lights began to dim, the crowd didn't quiet down. They couldn't, because something inside them had shifted. Something had been unlocked. And as they left the venue, voices still buzzing, emotions still high, one question echoed louder than anything else. Did that really just happen? Videos spread instantly. Clips of the jump, the moment, the chaos flooded social media, drawing reactions from fans around the world who hadn't been there, but could feel the impact through their screens. Was that safe? That was insane. I can't believe he did that. But no matter how many times the footage was replayed, no matter how many angles were analyzed, one truth remained. It wasn't the same. Because what happened in that moment wasn't just visual. It was emotional, physical, real. And for those who were there, for those who reached out, who screamed, who cried, who felt his weight in their hands, the memory would stay. Not as a video, not as a headline, but as a feeling. A moment where everything stopped, where everything collided, where everything became unforgettable. And at the center of it all stood Jungkook, fearless, connected, alive in a way that no stage, no camera, no performance could fully capture. Because on that night, in those seconds, something extraordinary happened. He didn't just perform for the fans. He became part of them, and they became part of him. And that is something no one, no matter how many times they watch the replay, will ever truly be ready for.